Once the shutters had come down on life as we knew it in March 2020, churches were also obliged to close their physical doors to their congregations. For many churches, that may have resulted in silence until they reopened again, but not here at Holy Trinity. Fairly soon afterwards, Andy Smith called me, possibly knowing that my mental health would suffer since all of my work had been cancelled, and he suggested that I write a piano arrangement of a hymn tune to be played during the services Joe had started streaming. This became the first of so far 49 meditations that would be written on a weekly basis. Initially writing in the old-fashioned way on manuscript paper, I would then email them to Andy, who, using music writing software, created legible printed copies. He then spent time bringing my music to life in his recording suite. It was at this time that more modern worship songs were introduced into the services. These were either written and or arranged by Andy and performed by Sarah, with a host of others including Mike and Claire Wallace, Lynn and Richard Davids, Anne and Mike Lovett, Esther King-Smith, Rob and Emma Snedden in Liverpool, and Jane Pegler in Portsmouth. Being in lockdown involved them recording remotely using iPhones, iPads, or other such recording equipment. These were then emailed back to Andy for editing and mixing. To date, they've recorded over 30 songs.
My soul sings, my spirit shouts.
As time went by, what we wrote and recorded became increasingly more involved and complex. Speaking for myself as I gained in confidence and became more aware of just what was possible. Adding more instruments, and often writing a mini orchestral score every week. Again, this had to be done remotely, but thankfully, when restrictions on staying at home loosened, Andy and I were able to meet and do much of the work together, which for musicians is a far better scenario. The culmination so far of all of our efforts and the extraordinary technology at our disposal was the Stations of the Cross series, held during Lent this year. Andy and I both wrote music for all 15 stations in our own individual styles, and we had help in the form of Jeanette Ager, who sang in all of the Stabat Mater settings I wrote, with Esther King-Smith on violin and narration from David Henson in Andy's Stations of the Cross. For both Andy and I, it was an inspirational project, and we hope, for those who experienced it, that it was both enjoyable and unique. We must also mention Esther's remote children's choir, who, in order for her to teach them the song, one for the 9 lessons and carols service, and one for Mothering Sunday, had to meet online. Having learnt the song, the children then recorded themselves to a backing track provided by Andy and I. This was then synced to video, ready for live streaming. When lockdown regulations eased and we were once again allowed in church, Richard King has complemented our worship with his wonderful organ playing.
Shine, Jesus, shine.
Out of necessity, the way we've worked to keep music alive and kicking at Holy Trinity has changed enormously in the past year, and we anticipate many of the changes lasting way beyond the end of the pandemic, whenever that might happen to be.